market jitters.
When investors feel uncertainty, they tend to sell.
Airline policy shift.
Southwest is feeling pressure to make money fast.
Good morning, I'm Steve Kazin with the CBS World News Roundup. Russia says it shot down more than 300 Ukrainian drones. At least 3 people were reported killed in the operations over 10 Russian territories. The blitz came after days of increased Russian bombardment in Ukraine. Against that violent backdrop, talks to end the war got underway today in Saudi Arabia. Here's CBS's Vicki Barton.
Smiling Secretary of State Marco Rubio ignored reporters' questions as the talks got underway in the Saudi port city of Jeddah. Flying over, though, he made it clear.
The president's goal is to bring them both to the table to get this resolved.
Saying he's mainly there to listen. The Ukrainian delegation, minus President Zelensky, is already signaling it's prepared to sign that agreement President Trump wants, granting the U.S. access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals, and that it's coming to the table with some ceasefire proposals. But the mood music out of Moscow is unlikely to be upbeat after last night's drone attacks.
More selling pressure this morning on Wall Street as financial markets opened lower after yesterday's steep sell-off, which saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 each losing more than 2%, the NASDAQ 4%. CBS's Kelly O'Grady says recession fears are growing as the U.S. battles with its trading partners.
Nearly all areas finished in the red yesterday, led by technology, communications, retail, and the banking sector. Even the Magnificent Seven stocks, that includes big names like NVIDIA and Apple, they saw some of the largest declines as traders sold off in search of more predictable investments. Elon Musk Tesla had its worst day in 4.5 years. The stock lost over 15%. What I'm hearing from investors is they're saying the threat of a trade war could spur so much confusion where you see businesses and consumers spend less, and that is important because consumer spending drives 2/3 of GDP, and when that hits, that's when you start to hear them throw around the R word, recession.
A judge says a former student activist arrested by immigration officials in New York should stay in the U.S. until a court hearing tomorrow. Mahmoud Khalil is a Palestinian from Syria who has a green card that allows him to live here. CBS's Lilia Luciano reports he's accused of anti-Semitic activity in protests at Columbia University last year.
Protests erupted in New York City after last weekend's arrest.
Our movement is very large.
Trump administration officials have said Khalil was arrested in support of the president's executive order tying his participation in the protest with alleged anti-Semitism and support for Hamas. Ramzi Qasem is a member of Khalil's legal team.
The Communist State and the Secretary of State do not have the power to revoke green cards. Only an immigration court can do that. Mr. Khalil has committed no crime.
Student protesters told us Khalil's arrest has already had a chilling effect on free speech. We've been really over-monitoring ourselves and our speech right now.
The Los Angeles County District Attorney has now come out against the request by the Menendez brothers to be resentenced. They're serving life in prison for killing their parents. CBS's Carter Evans spoke to a relative who's pleading for their release.
A crushing blow for the Menendez brothers, who served more than 30 years in prison for the 1989 murders of their parents.
They do not meet the standards for resentencing. They do not meet the standards for rehabilitation.
L.A. County DA Nathan Hochman asked the court to withdraw his predecessor's recommendation for resentencing, saying Eric and Lyle Menendez still have not taken full responsibility for their crimes.
The Menendezes have basically engaged in not just the ultimate lie of self-defense, but a whole series of lies around it.
Their attorneys claim self-defense from sexual abuse. The brothers' cousin, Anna Maria Baralt, remains hopeful as the resentencing hearing approaches later this month.
They have shown remorse. We now understand, most of society understands, their behavior was the result of trauma.
4 minutes after the hour.
Well, that's today's news. I didn't hear the good news, did you? I didn't think so. I guess it's all about perspective. The glass is half full. Well, as always, I'd like to thank you again for coming along with me on these Dash Cam News adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye, everybody. It's 42 degrees in Livermore, California.